How you going today, guys? My name is Kilk and welcome to my map guides. So today I want to start breaking down the maps, discussing the nuances of it, and also giving my opinion on which characters I believe are best suited for it, as well as any setups or tips and tricks for those characters. So without further ado, let's begin with everyone's favourite map, Breeze. Breeze. If you're not falling in love with the massively open spaces and long sight lines, then you're probably like most people that hate this map. But with this guide, you'll be able to correctly play the map where it just becomes freelo for you. Let's start off with the ideal team comp and a couple of setups. Bear in mind, this is just my opinion, and in reality, you can make anyone work. Let me know down in the comments what map you'd like to see next. So let's start off with the controller role. And Viper is hands down the best pick for this map, with her having almost 100% pick rate for every single region in the Challengers 2 playoffs. Her ability to repeatedly section off a site and break down the massive sight lines, as well as any verticality, makes her pretty much unreplaceable and a must pick for Breeze. The best way to play her, in my opinion, is to lurk around mid after dumping your wall/orb on either A or B, since you can be anywhere and still support your team with your util, and you'll be able to contest and catch any rotates from the other side, since rotating through mid into tunnels or doors is really fast, preferable, and also gives them insane long range angles to contest you advancing into sight. However, being the controller, you may have to be the dedicated spike carrier for your team, allowing the chamber or maybe even a Cypher to lurk, and hopefully not your Jet or Reyna. For attacking, I don't have a lot of variation for the attacking walls, just because the generic ones are so good. Pretty stock standard wall, slices the site nicely in half and covers you from bridge, stairs and back sight. I like to aim it just a little bit past the middle of the right pyramid, so hopefully any jets or chambers that are orbing from up top also get blocked off. Please just remember to tell your team to clear left and right side of main, and also cut out. But to be honest, I like to throw a molly there off the rip just to flush anyone out, and after a few times, they'll just stop sitting there. Again, pretty stock standard wall. If the enemies want to push out, they're completely in the open with no cover around them, which makes shooting them down pretty easy. Sitting in this corner and swinging off contact from your team is a great play here, then moving to main after you've done it a few times, whilst keeping an eye on elbow and flank, depending on what control you have. I don't really recommend doing walls for mid since you're not getting a massive amount of value from it, and would definitely be better suited on site. Furthermore, a nest smoke can do the job just as fine as well. Now for the smokes, and starting off with the nest smoke, definitely incorporate this into some of your mid or B plays, but don't get predictable, as in don't throw your smoke mid if you go B, and your hall smoke if you go A. The nest smoke is great if you want to lurk up mid to A or mid to B/elbow, whilst only having to deal with one real angle. If the enemies want to swing out wide from cover, then you should be encouraging that. For the hall smoke, a great way to lurk up and take a lot of space in halls. Taking control of halls makes your A execute so much easier, since those playing backside now have to be worried about you. Even if you just open the door and hide for the most part, they won't be able to peek into A main because they have to respect your hall's presence, which helps your team take sight. On defense, I'd always recommend playing B and sometimes in tunnel to mid/elbow. Your retake wall for B isn't as good as it is on A, especially in ranked queue, which I'll touch on later. And you can pretty much hold B main with just your smoke. You want to throw your smoke in B main and hold your wall for the A retake. If you're losing mid a lot, then you can wall mid off the rip. This wall, although it gives them a bit of mid for free, if they want to take any meaningful space, they'll have to push into the open, worrying about players sitting nest, tunnel and door. If you want to play A, you can wall off main and halls or an aggressive wall down shops, which makes it really awkward for the enemies to push out and trade. The retake wall for A is pretty standard. Rotate through mid, clearing it as you go, and throw your wall to cover off bricks and main. Because a lot of players love to all sit there, it can section them off and force them to come out to you. If you want to play other controllers, however, Astra is probably the next best, followed by Omen, just because of their ability to smoke from a further distance away. However, Brim can also work quite well if you want to play a rush comp with a Neon, as his 3 smokes can block off all of A and pretty much all of B. However, once you dump them, you need to commit, otherwise it'd be very difficult to take later on. Defense smokes are all pretty stock standard. Did we really expect anything else? Chamber is so dominant in the meta right now. With a free Pocket Guardian that can one-tap from any distance, being able to teleport around the map, his trademark is amazing for map information, and also he gets a free AWP for an ultimate. You want to take advantage of the map's long sightlines and his ability to play at weird angles and also to be able to get out of jail for free. You will probably do a lot of the lurking on attack side for your team, since more often than not, your Viper will be the dedicated spike carrier. Contesting and applying pressure into halls and also mid is really beneficial for your executes. If you're defaulting but want to posture towards A, place your trip here near cannon, and if you're leaning towards B, you can chuck your trip here. If you're 5-man Zerg rushing a site, then place your trip here or around elbow. Chamber is quite good at lurking up mid or halls because of his ability to quickly rejoin his team after he catches a rotate or just ends up taking a lot of space for free. He also excels at taking first contact, especially on Breeze. Buying an AWP for Chamber on attack isn't a bad idea when you're defaulting, since you can punish anyone that overextends and wants to peek for free information. Please, for the love of God, please, don't just place your trademarks in front of A or B main and then just sit there and hold it. And let me tell you why. Let's say there is a heavy aggression towards your site and you're pretty forward or exposed. You get a pick and you teleport to safely and they flood out. 2 things are going to happen. 1, they shoot the trip because it takes like 12 years to go off. Or 2, the trademark goes off but you're ward, flash, utiled out of position and you're waiting for your team to rotate over to begin the retake. So in both scenarios, you've gained nothing from it. The best case scenario for this trademark is you over-rotate and the enemies rotate to a now undefended site and you get that information. Probably will still get shot though, so you won't even get the delay. Instead, place it in halls, either behind the barrier if you're playing aggressive on A or B, or deep in halls to cover off door if you're going to be watching mid or elbow. Personally, I like this setup. Allows me to watch mid and elbow and the B push, but also teleport over to bridge and contest A main or halls. To mix it up, which I suggest doing from round to round, take aggressive peeks or sit on top of pyramid and walls on B. Make sure to ask someone to watch your doors if you're on top of pyramid and your window if you want to aggress B main. Cypher is a good replacement for Chamber as he has fantastic flank watch potential and can also trip halls so no one has to watch it. His cam is great for information, especially if you get a little sneaky with it. Sage is also an okay pick, however I'd argue not to replace Chamber or Cypher. Her wall is fantastic for executes and to slow down aggression alike, although with the potential to get hit from a lot of different angles at the same time, can make her feel a bit useless or stretched too thin. Killjoy isn't great here as everything is so spread out and her utility can be easily worked around. Sova is easily pick number 1, with his ability to drone out and clear out the close corners, as well as his sonar being able to traverse the long distances way better than Fade can. Then you want another initiator backing him up with the flashes of Skye or KO. As the Sova or Skye player, you want to be calling out for your team to follow closely behind your drone or your dog as you clear out the close corners. And as the KO or Skye player, you want to be flashing ahead or flashing through the smokes for takes or retakes. Given that competitive queue loves running the double duelist, a single server can carry the team quite well and can provide enough information for the takes and retakes. I won't go into any lineups for Sova just because there's a million YouTube videos already out there. But what I will say is that you don't actually need lineups to be an effective Sova player. As long as you're doing your job, clearing out the close corners and getting that deep information, then it doesn't really matter. KO and Skye can hold their own quite well as well, as their util does allow to clear out the close corners, not to mention their ults are fantastic for site executes, retakes, or just information. However, they really lack that deep information that Sova provides. Because of the openness of the map, Breach or Fade isn't the greatest of picks here. Breach's util is so easy to dodge since there is so much room outside of just the choke points, and his ult can't effectively clear sites. Fade runs into a similar problem with her ult, and although her dogs are great, the verticality is just too aggressive and the length too long to get any real value out of her haunt. Honestly, even with the Jet nerf, she is still so amazing, especially on Breeze. Similar to Chamber, you want to take advantage of the verticality and the ability to get one and get out on defense. However, you can be aggressive for longer since you're not locked in by your teleports. If you hear any noise towards your site, just prime your dash because you'd rather use it and waste it than hold onto it and die. For the attacking side, it's pretty standard Jet shenanigans. Wait for the Viper to wall, follow the drone or the dog out, and cloud burst and dash on, facing either left or right to clear it as you dash through. I don't really recommend picking up an AWP for Jet on attack just because you're the person that's meant to entry. Unless you have a Reyna or a Neon that's willing to do it, just save the AWPing for Chamber. Neon is also a really good pickup on Breeze because she can rotate insanely fast, and also her wall is a fantastic way to execute or retake a site. Also, her concuss is really powerful at flushing out those few corners. Reyna, I guess, just because it's competitive queue, just make sure to lead with your blinds and don't throw them at head level. I don't really recommend Yoru just because there aren't as many pockets where you can TP into compared to say Icebox or Bind. Raze is similar since the map is so open, she can't get insane value out of her boombot or flush people out with her nade that easily. Phoenix could be good with the new buff, but it's too early to tell. Now on to the nuances. As I said before, this map is insanely open compared to other maps, with multiple different angles you need to be wary of and long as hell sightlines. Side executes can actually be a nightmare without the proper knowledge on how to play Breeze. I cannot stress this enough. Mid control is super important for Breeze. 5-man busting out of A main or B main just isn't going to cut it. Consider the A hit. Viper walls off diagonally like this, and after a brief back and forth, you're able to plant the spike. If most of you fall back into cave, it gives the defenders so much space and so much time to really crunch down on you. As mentioned before, Viper's holding potential on B is insanely high, and her being able to save her wall for retakes means you can't all just sit cave. Some of you need to lurk out mid to catch the rotates, or tunnels, or through nest. Create some presence in halls to slow down any rotates between sites through CT, but also for A executes, if you open the door in halls, people can't just sit orange, they have to respect your presence there, which means the rest of your team can take the site way easier. These are the reasons why having a Cypher or a Chamber is so good for this map. You're able to lock off areas and not need to actively watch them. If your trademark or your tripwire hasn't gone off in halls, then you can be damn sure that no one's there, and you don't need to worry about it. And if you're worried about it getting smoked off, just have someone play on stairs on A so they can listen out for any audio cues. Having map control and map awareness is super important for playing Breeze. Ensuring that you're not able to get caught off guard or flanked on means you're not losing players through unforced errors. Conversely, if you notice the defenders are tripping off A main or B main or doing some cringe Cypher setups on one site, then push halls or push nest, default around and apply pressure throughout the map. I guarantee you'll win way more rounds if you spread out and actually take your time, rather than Zerg rushing A main every second round. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing. It would mean the world to me. Until next time, see ya!